about 3 weeks.
Yes, coming up soon.
Any other items or
That is it.
any questions for TK on BB Parks?
Should you meeting with the community that,
Yes.
the area that's over there, like Chastain, those people that live over there in that area?
Yeah, whoever, and I guess Marcy's talking to the people in the city, because I think they're trying to get the people to
Cool.
come out.
Yeah,
So
I would like to see a big turnout.
they're corresponding, I guess. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
And that is Mr. Sendate. Is that your area, isn't it? That you represent? Perfect. Okay, then we'll move into C, update from Alpine Parks Department. So Mr. Yanis could not make tonight, so we'll skip that one. And we'll move into the individual updates, item D, individual updates from board members for task objectives. So we'll start with Ms. Cantrell on park rules.
Okay. After reading the park rules, the swimming pool is pretty much taken care of. They've got a lot of rules there that make sense, they're logical. The program section of the rules, that makes a lot of sense. It might need a little tweaking here and there. I started out with the hours of operation, and I could only find 2 parks listed in the code of ordinances. So this is the existing rules, just Medina Park and Baines Park. And this is my proposal, where I just used a copy and paste, because I mean, most of this language is good, but I need some guidance on hours of operation. Do we want to make it 7 because it's light at 7 in the summertime, and some people go running in the park at that in the morning, and at 10 p.m. it's still pretty warm and light, you know. So I don't mind 10 p.m., but do we want to make it 7 or 8? Just that kind of thing like that. Because I don't want to shut out the runners and I don't want to cause a problem, but I just need to know. And another thing, I listed all of the parks. I'm sorry, I didn't get one for you, Amy, but okay. I listed all of the parks and I did not include the Shipment Track, which is owned by AISD, Arbolitos Park, Railroad Park, because they're owned by the railroad, and then the County Courthouse Park, because that's owned by Brewster County. So this is what I'm proposing, but like, again, I need some guidance or some feedback rather. You know, if you'd like an earlier date or like a later time, whatever.
I personally, if you don't mind me commenting, I prefer to have it open at 7, just because I feel like in the summer it's light out. I don't see why people wouldn't be able to run there.
That sounds great. And I can make that alteration very quickly. I thought 7 because I know a lot of people run before they go to work or go to school or things like that. So, and in the summertime, that's great because it's cooler then. Yes.
You said sunsets.
Would it do dawn to dusk or just sunset sunrise? Okay, I like that.
Sometimes, but there are mornings where the sunrise will be at 6:30.
Right, and then a little later the next day, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Just a suggestion.
Oh, no, I like it.
Like having a hard time. you know,
I honestly
7
just
to
didn't-
10 and-
That does change with the time change as well.
It does, and I think that would make it better for all. Okay,
I
thank
guess
you.
I have one question as well, though. For like the sports teams that are playing games and such, when do those usually end by? I'm assuming, like, are they ever playing in the dark? Would they be playing after sunset? For example, like
I think
Little
only
League.
the baseball game, the Cowboys would be.
Well, Little League
I
does,
was gonna say, does
Okay.
like, does Little League have games
They
that
do.
would be later?
especially,
Sounds like an exception
It does.
for sponsored Little League or some type of verbiage that says Little League.
Is that the only thing that would be?
what about,
practiced?
what about basketball up at
Oh, at the Baines?
Banks? Are there lights up there?
I don't
I
know.
remember when this was talked about.
There are lights, I believe.
I think it's Centennial there.
Because
maybe,
they play
right?
basketball
Maybe not.
at night. I think, excuse me, Baines closes at 10:30 now. So I'm gonna guess that there are lights there because you can't play basketball in the dark. I'll have to drive by again.
What if you did set the time frame to like 6 to 11? It allows for some extra free time, the running in the morning.
Mhm.
Those are hard times. I mean,
Right.
It might be easier for law enforcement too.
Yeah,
When I think about it. they're-
Yeah.
It's like 6:32.
Oh, it's open now.
and it does get tough when it's, in the winter and it's dark at 6 o'clock or 6:30 or whatever it is.
That's true.
And that would allow for
The
the
games.
basketball, and I believe, and I don't quote me, but we do have an ordinance on curfew. So you would want to make sure it didn't,
Right.
mess with the curfew, and I want to say the curfew might be 11 on weekdays and midnight on weekends. And most of your basketball players, they're gonna be high school kids. Maybe middle schoolers. That's something that we might want to look into if you want to put that kind of.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I'll look into those things and then I'll revise it and we'll come get it.
I guess one question I had on this, it seems like, and there's plenty of people who might go to bed at 9 o'clock, for example. So I could see complaints being, hey, it's dark, it's 9 o'clock, I'm ready to go to bed, and there's this, ruckus going on in the park. Does the noise ordinance that has been, I believe it's been passed, right? Would that pertain to events in the park as well? Okay, so that, to me, that covers that situation.
Yes, and the noise ordinance has exceptions as well as far as like if there's an actual event.
Event, right?
As far as if we're just out there playing and they violate the noise ordinance, then of course.
That's just-
Yeah, they'd have to be pretty loud, but
Yes,
at
plus
least,
they all have their cars there.
right. Okay,
I think it has to be like 70 decibels at your wherever you're at listening.
That's
Like in the
an
room.
excellent point though. And you're right, if we're out there having a good time and especially with veins, there's literally houses right across.
right.
Good note. And maybe that can be included as far as all city ordinances must be followed.
Ooh, nice. You've done this before.
And is the time, I'm assuming is probably just it's a method to enforce, like if someone's walking through the park or anything else at, midnight and they're coming back home from somewhere, you're not out to arrest them. They're just walking through and everything else. This is only if there was an issue, say, hey, guys, park's closed.
Right.
That's something like
But
that.
is this with safety?
Exactly. Exactly. At midnight, right?
And so this does,
So,
so right now, we only had alcoholic beverages covered under Medina Park.
right.
So this covers, that's beautiful, that it covers
But there's
everything.
also a section in there just strictly for alcoholic beverages. So if they ever, there's no need to beat that horse, so.
But this is now saying that the,
Right.
This is applying to all parks.
like that. So they're all treated the same. The same thing with the violation penalty. Now it's
Right.
just under one.
Right. So it looks like I need to work on the hours and regarding maybe matching up with curfew and then check out the noise ordinance to see how to go. Thanks for the feedback. Appreciate it.
And then I guess once you actually, once we all are on the same page, and you might even want to talk to Gio on it on the side, and he can probably dress it up in the language when you're actually going forward with the ordinance for the editing and all that.
Right. I planned on that.
Perfect.
He's good at it too, so. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? For Karen? All right. We'll move on to item 2 then, festivals and event permitting with Ben Struthers.
No big updates. I did drop by and chat with Gio sometime in the last couple of weeks just to kind of bounce some ideas off of them. But I still need to do some serious pen to paper on my action item. So nothing to present to the group at this point in time anyway.
Word not yet?
No.
Perfect. We will move into item 3, which is my current one, rental fees and that. So I tied a bunch of documents in here, and this is just for supporting documentation, but a lot of it isn't really pertinent for the little amount that I'm going to show you. So I came and I spoke with Ms. Antrim there on the Civic Center rentals for everything, and she looked up the last time that they were approved and amended. And so it was updated and approved in 2020, all the Civic Center stuff, but also updated and approved November 2022 by
Okay.
council. So very, very recent updates on everything. So I'm thinking it's probably dialed in where the city council wants it.
Right.
So I would recommend no change on the Civic Center. And that we just keep that as is. And we can look into this and kind of see, I mean. Really even speaking with Mr. Morales, I didn't think he was real happy with the language in it and everything else and the cost structure. Just to go over a couple things. So that it was updated updated and approved November 2022. And I think at that point in time, they dropped the full day rental from $650 for commercial down to $500, so a drop in price. And then the nonprofits, I want to say nonprofit and government dropped from 400 to 100. So that's probably getting more people to use the Civic Center and
Right.
and it's a good place for those organizations to have a spot to do it. So I'd recommend no change on that one. The next one is Coconut Pavilion. So we're currently charging $25 a day for the use of the pavilion. And Megan said that oftentimes is rented as well with the pool. And you might have to remind me, Ms. Etcham, on the pool, they can only rent that after 6 p.m.
6 to 8.
from 6 to 8 for private parties.
Okay.
So
Is the pool rental structure in here or not?
it is not, it's separate.
No, that's separate and
Where is that information?
it hasn't been approved for this year.
Oh, it has been. Okay.
We kind of do it annually,
Gotcha.
based on kind of staffing, availability, if the pool open and operable. They had issues with that in the past. I believe last year it was $40 an hour and a $20 deposit for a total of 100. And mind you, that has to cover the cost of the lifeguards.
Right.
And lifeguard numbers are dependent on number of,
And that deposit they get back, so it's 100 total, but they can get that deposit back.
yes, if they leave the pool in good condition. In other words, if they take their trash.
Right.
So my recommendation, and feel free to push back on this pricing, is I looked at, spoke to Ms. Antrim when he came up with some ideas, but as well went over to Midland Parks, and they separate their rentals into 2 times, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. So you could take it the whole day. And we were thinking, well, then the way they do it in Midland, it's 9 to 3 is $30, 4 to 10 is $40. And if you get the whole day, it's 60, so you get a $10 discount by renting it for the whole day. But if we did something like that, feel free to push back on those, when we actually start hammering out the actual cost of it. Then if they're accustomed to spending $25, they're accustomed to that for the whole day. 9 times out of 10, they may not be using it that whole day.
Right.
So we're still offering the lower price, but now we're splitting that into the 3 times where we can actually generate revenue if we wanted to into the 2-day system. I guess my question would be, Mr. Yanez, and if that actually works with kind of their setup, the 4 to 10 p.m. time, if that between 3 and 4, at the end of the day, they come clean up trash and everything else like that and get it ready for the people that would be utilizing it at night.
Definitely a parks question.
Do they work on the weekends? I guess would be my question. Like, would they?
True.
Yes, they can be scheduled for them.
They can, okay.
Doesn't mean they want to all the time.
I'm sure.
And that's when on most of the rentals were, it seems like on the
I was
weekend.
gonna
On
say,
the
it feels
weekend.
like most people, if they're renting the pavilion, it's gonna be like a Saturday, Sunday.
And if they were rented on a weeknight, 9 out of 10 times it's tied to the pool.
Oh,
Because they want to be able to have like, can't have the glass containers in the pool area, or can't have the barbecue pit. So they
They
use
go
the
outside.
pavilion to do the big party and then of course the food and food will go back in.
so those prices, if those prices were, even if we stayed $25 for the first half and the last half,
Right.
then we're doubling the revenue possibility.
Right.
But to the end client, to the user of it, then their price is the same, what they're accustomed
Right. And then I don't think $50 for a whole day is like real excessive.
to. Yeah.
That's pretty much a bargain.
And I want to say the prices have gone, I want to say it's about 10 years, maybe since the price has been raised. So that 25 would be around 35, if you look at inflation. We pop it into an inflation calculator, so
They're even giving a discount.
And I mean, I don't know if we want to. This will have to come back over to Parks anyway, and we'll ask them, how that fits into their work structure as far
Right.
as splitting the days and everything else. So this will follow up on the next meeting. But I guess I would ask ourselves, if we're okay with the 25, or if we think we should raise it to 30. Like maybe a 30, or maybe a 25 and a 30. And then you get a little discount if you do the full day. So instead of 55, you get it for 45 or something. I can come up with some options. I'll reach out to Mr. Yanes and
Right.
check and see and get some updates for y'all.
Now I'm gonna ask
What?
a silly question. Do they have a calendar like this when the pavilion is rented?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that wasn't so silly after all.
And it's also online for the.
Oh, yeah.
What's the thinking on the different pricing between morning and evening?
That's a good question. I mean, that's the way Midland did it.
Do you think
and-
it's because evening is like a more coveted spot because like more people, aren't working in the evenings?
Right, and it's a little cooler than during the day.
It is rented more for.
Really?
I can see that.
So I will reach out to Mr. Yanes, ask him about the workflow, and then I'll question some of the financial side of it, see a number we can land on, agree on, but that's kind of the thinking process, is split it into 2 times.
What do you think on, I guess my last question on that, what about deposit? We have deposit on the pool, we have a deposit at the Civic Center. Currently, there's no deposit at the pavilion, right?
Not that I know, I think it was just 25.
No, I can't claim the idea, but I know it's been talked about before.
Is it?
And I
pretty-
think that's kind of a big thing we're wanting to accomplish here is just be sure people, just
Right.
be sure people are picking up after themselves. $200 for the Civic Center, $20 for the pool. We got a pretty big range to consider here. That's pretty light for the pool, but that's not set by us. So
Maybe been different. don't quote me on it.
too late.
Maybe 25.
But also like the deposit's just going to cover someone who's cleaning up, right? So it shouldn't be hopefully that hard to clean up the pavilion.
So
depending on-
take that person's salary
Right.
and multiply it by 2.
Right. I mean, I could, for the pavilion,
See, like,
25.
yeah, 25, 30.
Something like that. But something to where they're incentivized to uphold their end of the
To
bargain.
remove all their trash, paper, cans, etc.
Yeah. Right.
Correct.
And from the city's perspective, seems like deposits are kind of recommended on it, like the pool and other items that you guys have. How often does somebody just say, I'll just keep the deposit?
Trash.
Actually, with the Civic Center, it's more frequent. Well, they don't want to put the tables back, they don't want to put the chairs back, so they walk away from $200.
Wow. I'll come help next
With the
time.
pool, it's a lot harder to not get your deposit back because you're really just picking up your own area. You don't have a space for like 500 people.
Right.
You just have, a handful for your party. With the park, and if you've got a nice party going on, you have all those kids and you're having a grand old time, you don't honestly think about, oh,
Where did you?
I
leave
missed
your
that
trash?
can, throwing
Right.
away my bottle and oh, I don't care. Someone will pick it up. So it's- Also, they have access to electricity. So if they overpower our outlets, it's like, hey, you are.
Oh,
We
yeah.
have to replace.
It's
So
true.
maybe you want to require a little.
And there are recycling bins there, so there's no reason they can't get rid of the trash. But even the glass bottles, which you shouldn't have in the park anyway, but
If the trash can's pretty close to that area.
Yeah.
They're like right there.
And there's the big dumpster right by us.
correct.
So. You know, your bag and-
Yeah, so it's not a difficult thing.
There's really no reason not to. It's so conveniently
I know,
right
it's
there for
right
you
there.
to do.
Okay, so I'll reach out and inquire about a deposit.
Cool.
I guess any other?
No. What you got is.
All right, so we will move into item 4, park activities with Mr. Ramos, who is not here today, so we'll move right into item 5, inventory of playground equipment with TK.
So finish going through all of the parts. I highlighted the things that need fixing. Most of it's honestly just like touching up on paint before it gets so worn down that it needs to have something bigger fixed. So that's all done. And then what I really wanted to focus on was the surveys. So I know we had talked about in our last meeting, making a survey to send out to people, just kind of asking them what parks do they use, like what do they want to see different, would they be willing to help fix the park if that, if we made a volunteer committee for that, and if they wanted any change in equipment. So Megan had recommended, I had left a couple questions for them to type in the answers, and I agree with you. I think it might be better if we like listed out options, like what do you use the park for? Playing on the playground, running, sports, I don't know, whatever the options are, but just so people are more inclined to actually select an answer versus just skipping it and leaving it blank. I don't want to make it like a very lengthy survey, because I think people are not gonna do it if they're like, oh wow, this is too much, I'm just gonna stop. So I wanted to keep it kind of short, but I would love your guys' input on like what questions we should be asking. Like what answers.
I think the multiple choices, better, because you'll get a lot of different answers if you ask them.
And I feel like it'd be harder to look at the data.
Right.
People are just,
Like I actually go and eat lunch, at a park. Some people don't. They just go to read a book or something, The kids go to play.
so I guess what kind of options do we want to list for my question? Like, what do you typically use the card for?
I have one, so I do like the idea of like closing the questions, so we're directing them towards answers that we actually see. One that I was kind of thinking is if we can take the questions from the survey to align to what we're actually, some of the questions we're asking ourselves on our task list, like, what do you think, when do you think the park should be open?
Right.
Like maybe 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. I don't know if, the public may have an entirely different idea that doesn't portray back to the way the law enforcement and everything else do.
Right.
That might be a bad example, but what do you think is a fair cost for the pavilion? 25 to 35, 35 to 45, things like that. If we can take some of those questions and align them maybe to rentals or anything like that, if you had to have,
Yeah, like the festival.
And just keep it to a couple of pages so that you don't lose their interest.
It's gonna get pretty extensive.
Multiple
Potentially.
choices go fast.
That's true. Like if they were all dropped down, click the button,
Right.
it's gonna be a lot faster than like my blank question. What do you typically use the park for?
Guess running would be one thing. See, they're not allowed to play certain sports at Coconuts at certain parks, so, like,
That's true, I guess we don't.
right. So,
And like, I was
no,
gonna say, Ben probably knows the questions he probably wants answered or what he
Right.
would want feedback on the most from festival events. And like, I'm not too sure. I can think of some that I could tie it back into rental fees and think, do you think a deposit is fair? Yes, no,
right,
things like that.
exactly. And,
What if you each came up with 5 multiple choice questions?
Yeah,
ooh,
that'd be like 20 questions.
yeah,
25 to get it wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
okay,
That would each pertain to your.
right. Do you just want to email them to TK and she could just put them on there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can have a draft for next time.
Yes.
Cool.
If you have one comment on your inventory,
Oh, yeah.
the park that is in front of the Scoops Creamery,
Yeah.
those tables aren't sitting.
Okay, I was wondering, I was there looking at a bunch of things and I was like, I'm not sure if any of this belongs to the city. Okay, so you own the land, but do you own like the decorative wagon? Like, so nothing is there that you
The
own?
trees, the grass.
Okay, so I will take. Do you guys, like the trash can, do you guys service with,
There could be a recycling bin there,
I don't know that there,
and there should be like a black fancy trash
Yes.
can with that is,
that is the city's, okay.
there should be recycling unless they've moved it.
They must have moved it.
I don't remember seeing it, but
I
I'll.
don't remember.
I'll come to
It's
this.
not on one of my stops.
Are the benches, there's like a couple wooden benches, those are not yours either.
I don't believe so.
Don't believe so. Okay, I will update this.
I was thinking, when, in that survey, I think it'd be pretty nice if we actually, if you had headers and you could say, park rules. And there's the 5
Yeah.
questions under
So
that.
just like literally divide it into our tabs.
Yeah, that way, if the users particular about, questions, they can see it and move, and, if they're not answering all the questions, they're at least answering the ones that are important to them.
Right, and I do want to include the city because they're the ones that use the park. And I don't want to just make an arbitrary number and go, boom, that's what it is. Because there will be feedback.
Perfect, so we can get 5 questions a piece,
Yes.
give or take, and, so make sure you cover the bases and the things the answers you need answered for that on there. And then we'll get a draft back next time.
Yes.
I guess any other kind of questions on that, or?
Good idea.
Perfect. Then we will move into item E, under discussion with city staff regarding procedural items, questions, and recent parks and recreation related items. So you had any questions for Ms. Antrim?
I have a comment. We have been officially notified by TechSlat that they are no longer going to mow and water the right of ways, which means our parks department, street department will have to take on this responsibility. That includes all the trees. So be patient. I know there's been some public upset over some of them that are dying, but we also have received donations to replace dying trees. But before TechStot was managing that, unfortunately, our maintenance agreement with them does say that we're responsible for it. They've just been doing it for the city for like 30 years. So changeover at TechStot, we got the official notification.
And you're talking about like the trees downtown and that.
So all the right of way along Highway 90
Mhm.
and Loop Road now becomes a responsibility.
Oh, dear.
So that's weed eating, mowing, watering.
Are they hiring extra staff to take care of that over the summer?
So we've been putting out on our website, we try to like jobs, trying not to keep them up there 7 months out of the year.
Right.
Unfortunately, we have applicants. And so I am thinking or looking into alternatives. Adelina has been very, she's a go-getter. Looking at kind of like an adopt a tree.
Oh, that's
the
nice.
trees are taken care of. Only concern with that is not all business owners are happy about having trees and they want them taken away.
Oh, dear.
So that's not really an option.
Oh, no.
Adopt the tree and cut it down.
And TechStot has removed a couple and cemented them in, but we're not headed that direction. We really want to improve. The downtown with the trees, we're actually going to replace a few trees that are still living with the trees that are more up and out, not
Yeah, not
invading
spreading.
the
Yeah.
sidewalk and street kind of area. We are actively looking, I sent out a workforce about interns, the students, to get some help there. And of course, we want them to lifeguard.
Yeah.
So it's, we're balancing it all out. But just so you're aware on the parks board. of the Parks Department.
I would ask then on like, when they are coming through, how did TechStot water those trees? They have a water truck that they come by in? And how will we as a city water those trees? What's the
TechStot
process?
actually
To somebody with a water truck?
contract. So they contracted it out and weren't able to, I guess, recontract it, find a contractor. So it may be a little bit of a capital investment we do have a current water truck. I don't know if we have necessarily all the accessories to water these trees. Of course, we have access to water fairly easy. But it's determining how we're gonna, and the timing of it, how we water them. We have to be respectful of the fact that cars get in the way. So do we do it early? Do we do it late? I know in the past I've seen the contractor out there at all hours watering trees. And we don't expect that of our employees.
On that mowing, is it all the way to the city limits?
That's my understanding, yes.
Unless with the contractor
If we
is
hire,
mowing, Or I mean, TxDOT contractor, I think we mow twice a year, you know.
Think Mr. Weber, who is no longer with TxDOT, kind of really worked his magic to continue it as long as he could, because I begged him, but unfortunately not now. Is it the Checo brothers? There's the ones that do the mowing.
Okay.
Would it be an option to look at the budget for the parks for like the next year to put, like, contract it back out again, like
So
make it work for this summer, but then moving forward, could we?
So that is actually one thing I'm thinking of. I know the last time I spoke with TxDOT, I had asked them, can you just tell us who your contractors are so that we could actively pursue them?
Right.
I didn't get much feedback on that, but I know that they were in their turnover with people leaving. There is a company, they're here. And they do
It's
a lot-
Michelin.
they pretty much do up to Midland. They have the El Paso Avenue.
I think it's the Vizcaínos, I think it's a Michelin. The ones that, they even have the contract for in town for the watering, and pruning and litter pickup.
It's all comes. But so we got some suggestions here. Recorded, so take
Yes,
that.
it is.
But yes, the idea is to go back out and look at contracting someone to.
Okay.
My biggest concern, of course, is the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge. And you have that two areas where the weeds and everything can get pretty rough, but we have that drainage system right there as well. And so I know we've had some issues and they had to clean out a bunch when they fixed the gate or the part of it. And we want to make sure that we keep that maintained.
So this is not just a watering issue, it's gonna be mowing and anything else?
So TxDOT has a, what'd you call it, a maintenance contract with the city. You're not paying TxDOT. They're just, that's their agreement to support the city.
They basically. Said we want to do all these wonderful things and the city said yes, and we'll maintain it. Well, we didn't maintain it.
Yeah.
Now we have. But it also does a lot with encroachment issues and stop signs, and there are specifics on both sides.
Gotcha.
And so I think we've relied heavily on TxDOT to keep it up and going for us, so now it's, they can't
Gotcha.
do it.
Is that an in perpetuity type of contract, or is it something that comes up for discussion, revision every so often?
Well, Mr. Sandate. As a former TxDOT employee. Like I said, the current contract is from the 90s.
Yeah.
So
Oh.
I don't think it's ever been rediscussed.
Gotcha.
But
Like-
so-
And who knows, I mean, maybe you'd like, the rest of the deal might be fantastic, so.
well, they put in all the trees. They actually took care
I remember when that happened. It was nice. Damn.
of it. Just a little update.
Thank you.
One thing on that I might mention would be, I wonder if we could reach out and just, if the trees keep dying, we spoke about it before, having a list of acceptable trees or something. That way we're forcing ourselves to have trees that are drought tolerant or something like that. Because I think
Right.
sometimes we get trees in from Apache or elsewhere, you know, and we may just buy something that's not necessarily for this area at all. Make sure we're getting chinkapin oak or, you know, desert willow or whatever else, something, anything we can do on the end to lower the maintenance of it.
Absolutely.
And maybe we just start that out super slow and we say, here's a list of 5 trees, you know, and then when
Right.
you want to add another tree, you make it 6. Or something. And I'll mention that to Mr. Yanes, because I'm sure you'll have to work through that issue. I guess any other questions for Sandra?
I guess just one comment I wanted to make. Thank you guys for putting the plans for Pueblo Nuevo up on the website. Because I had posted just like pictures saying that the groundbreaking had taken place. And there were quite a few comments about, well, what are you guys doing there? What are you guys putting in? A lot of people were concerned about trees being taken out because they were, I guess, previously memorial trees.
They were, so that was supposed to be developed into a memorial type. And so those trees were all donated in remembrance of.
Yes, and the trees are staying. right, according to the plan.
That is my understanding.
Okay, that was my understanding too, because
What it looks like on the plan.
people started talking about like, well, if they take that tree out, like I want it because it was a memorial to this
All right.
family member.
I
So-
misinterpreted the backstops. That's gonna be a discussion with the park equipment.
Well, I just appreciate you putting that online just to be transparent with the people and they can go look and see what's happening because like, oh my gosh, I don't know.
I see some of them ask where it was.
Yeah,
Well, and the trees help divide the park into the quadrants.
Yeah.
To be
Yes.
able to have the different features.
which I think is cool.
If I could ever find the original plans for it.
Okay.
It had a huge water feature. in it.
I think I've seen those plans. It was
That threw me for the.
pretty elaborate plan.
What's, yeah, one feature, fountain.
Will
In
there
the
be-
Desert.
Will there be another meeting out at Pueblo Nuevo that we can go ahead and alert people to, or as far as?
So
I
that's,
don't have the date set, but yes, TK had alluded to that. We're gonna have an open meeting for the public to help kind of take playground equipment.
that will be the last week of April.
Chefs.
And
So-
Marcy may have set that on my calendar. I'll be honest with you, I'm at the day by day.
Last I had talked to her, I think we were between Wednesday and Thursday, and I'm not sure if it had been. But Wednesday or Thursday night to meet with the people.
Do you think there will be any other updates at that point in time? Are we just picking kind of equipment, or is there gonna be anything else from the city side as far as?
Not really updates. We really just started moving with this project. We did not get any, well, we got a bid, but it wasn't accepted. They didn't follow procedures. So we're having to do the concrete, reissue that bid again. So we can mention that at the meeting.
Sure.
But then kind of following up with, because of the cost of things, and we kind of are alluding that we're not gonna be able to afford everything we wanted originally.
Mhm.
I do want to have the discussion with the backstops and
Okay.
not necessarily removing them, maybe relocating, but I don't think we're gonna be able to purchase as much of the equipment as we hope to.
Right.
So I'd rather keep things that are usable, because at the grand or the groundbreaking, they were using it.
Yeah.
Because the original plans had. I misinterpreted that in discussion with Marcy. I thought we were keeping them, but having that discussion with, since we might not be able to get everything on our wish list, do we relocate them to another area to keep them, make it usable, so that we can put in the equipment a little different.
Any other items or?
Thank you.
All right. Now into action items, fun part here. So May 16th, I'll be moving on to council, so we're gonna choose a new chairperson for the board. And we kind of wanted to get this, I was hoping to get this done earlier, that way next meeting, I'll be here still on the board and I can sit and everything kind of. makes
And we gavel over.
Right. So I will entertain a motion to appoint the chairman of the Parks and Recreation Board. If anyone has an interest that would take that up. Just keep your hand down if you're interested. And I mean, we're 3 of 3 here. There's
I nominate Mr. Ramos.
You're not here, don't you usually get nominated?
And I will say, I mean, if you're kind of just wondering, it doesn't take a terrible amount of work. I think the most important part of being the chairperson is basically just to meet with Ms. Antrim at least once before every meeting. So you get the city's perspective towards things that are coming up. And so, you can get self-educated on a lot of the things that are actually occurring. Because even being on the board, I think a couple of years before becoming chairperson, I never met with Ms. Antrim or anything else on any of it, And I will say, it's actually, if you have an interest in the time, which is not a terrible amount of time, it's a fascinating learning experience, and you learn a lot about kind of how the city runs, and you meet cool people, and it's actually a great learning experience. Nah, that's-
I mean, that was a good job, so.
and it comes with a commission.
You get a gavel.
That's right.
I'm already the vice chair and I'm willing to step in, but to anybody else who wants to be chairman. No, I'm kidding.
The biggest, I would say one of the biggest parts would be just meeting with Megan once a month and then also just communication. To let people know about the meetings, what's coming up, and just to make sure that there's action items so that things are moving forward each time.
You're such a poor communicator, though.
And I will be here on the next one, the next meeting.
And then I can have your email in case someone digs something up of you, right?
Absolutely. And I'm a resource. So
Okay.
whatever you need.
Against my better judgment, but I'll do it.
Can we get a, I guess, a motion then?
Yeah, I motion that Ms. Genshaw becomes the chairman of the Parks and
Is
Recreation
there a
Board.
second?
Second thought.
All right, discussion.
I don't think I can vote. So.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Welcome. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next one. Thank you, Karen. Item B, appoint the vice chair of the Parks and Recreation Board. So we will entertain a motion on that one. You guys gotta fight for that one.
You're already,
I'm already a secretary.
That's fine.
I don't mind saying secretary,
I'll,
but
I'll do Mr. Vice Chair, yeah.
I guess, can we get a motion?
I move that Ben be appointed vice chair of the Parks and Recreation Board.
Is there a second?
second.
Any discussion? No discussion, all in favor? All right. Okay, it's the vice chair. And then we'll move on to item C, appoint the secretary of the Parks and Recreation Board. So we'll entertain a motion on that one.
I move that the secretary of the Parks and Recreation Board remain TK.
Is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? All in favor? All right, TK is the secretary. All right, and then we'll move into item 7, board member comments. Any comments, starting with Ms. Cantrell?
I'd like to thank everybody for the feedback. It was very interesting and I noted it down. And thanks again. I appreciate it.
Ben?
Nothing else from me. Congrats on your city council position.
Should be interesting. I think it'll be another learning experience. No comments from me. I think that's going to be great getting that survey together. I'm looking forward to the information we get on that.
Thanks, guys, for all of your input on the survey. It was very helpful.
All right, Mr. Sendate, anything to add? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we
All right, second.
A second.
All right, meeting adjourned.
And I hope you have a wonderful career.